Mama's running her thing now.
And we are live. Welcome, everyone. My name is Niki Lopez of Niki Lopez Creative, and you're watching The Circle, where every Tuesday, 8:30 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm talking to artists, activists, social entrepreneurs, people doing great things in the world today. And I'm super, super excited to have a very special guest and friend, Yrneh Gabon. Thank you for being here. Yes, so Yrneh is an artivist, an activist, and a social practitioner. So, and I know that's just a very short list for some of the things that you do. You have lots going on. And so we're going to get into it. So we're a couple minutes behind, but that's fine. We're live. We are live on Facebook in a few places. We have Niki Lopez Creative. We also have the Circle group and YouTube and Periscope for the couple of people that's there. So so let's just jump into it. What inspired and initiated your creative journey?
Well, thank you for having me, first and foremost,
Yes.
and your friendship and your support. It's really wonderful. My creative journey, I've always felt was innate, which means um, I have no choice. So I'm always inspired, but not having a choice, it means that I am always on a journey of some sort. I was never not on a journey.
Mm.
Um, but to be more specific about what inspire my practice, it's more like a call and response. So I'm responding to what the callings are. And most times, 99% of those time, it's social activism. It's something that is happening in the community with Black and Brown people, or something that's happening in community with underserved people, or inequity, or um, just anything that I can use this platform and bring a creative voice to is something that I will always do. So to answer your question, what inspire is just it's my duty, Cantonina Simone, and responsibility to respond to the times. So I just feel like I need to respond when there is a calling, right? So there's so much been going on from, I don't know, 400 years ago that we need to be inspired about.
Mm-hmm.
But even much lately, as you look around you, you cannot not see and not be inspired to respond creatively, socially, and otherwise, to make your voice heard with the um, disparities and all the things that's going on to Black and Brown people,
Mm-hmm.
particular in this country, but it's around the world. So, yeah.
Okay. And then we have I wanted to ask what are some of the narratives about that you explore in your body of work, but we also have your website. So should we load that up now, or do you want to kind of get into a few of the pieces?
Yeah, well, one of my first major works, I think. Okay, many years ago, I wouldn't say many years ago, but many years ago, recent years ago, here in Los Angeles. I've been in Los Angeles 21 years now, and coming from Jamaica and living in other parts of the world and seeing what that looks like, and cultural um, navigating the many cultures. I got a full understanding of how to survive. Right?
Mm-hmm.
If you've been in the woods long enough, you're going to know where the dangers are. Yeah. So um, one of my first pieces that I did in 1988 in Jamaica was a piece, probably not on my website. It was a performance piece on the cocaine epidemic. I can't recite the poem now to you, but you know, we'll see. And that was there's a talent show called the Tasty Talent Show, and it's been won by Nadine Sutherland. I don't know if you know who she is, King Yellow Man, Beanie Man. All these artists comes from, I mean, this major talent show. I was the first poet and singer to have won this,
Wow.
and I felt like if I when everybody was singing North American tune R&B and stuff, if I have this platform, 9, 10,000 people, it must count. So against the fear of everybody, don't go with a poem, you're never going to win. I won that thing twice, the semi and the grand final with
Mm,
cocaine. And that was and then I took money from that and I donated to Walker's Wood Home for safety.
mm,
I looked at the place that didn't have a clock. I bought them a clock, and I must have gotten some small amount of money, 2,000 Jamaican dollar by the time I bought them a clock. I gave them a small donation, and I stayed close to them even until about 2 years ago when the home caught fire and they dispersed. Right, so that was kind of the first major um, activism piece that I did. Fast forward, I mean, I've worked with battered women shelter here in Los Angeles when I first came. I mean, I came as an actor to LA. Had worked in other fields, right? But most recent and one of the most published work and social activism piece I've done is on the piece on albinism that took me to Africa, the West Indies, Europe, the Americas to research and make work from the findings. Uh,
mm,
I just saw I saw the article written by Vicky Etetema or the television piece, and I started digging and found out that she was in hiding. She's not my friend actually. She was the head of the BBC East Africa, and she reported the news of the killings of people with albinism, and that had me. And then I remember what that was like as a child and the stories I've learned from Yellow Man. About Yellow Man, I didn't really know him personally then, more than I performed with him a few times as an entertainer, singer. Um, we share the same stage, but not knew his full backstory. So, with a village, African Millennium Foundation, CCH, and a bunch of others who, came aboard, helped me raise the money to do the research, right?
mhm,
When the school was like, well, we can't send you to Africa. No. Later on, they came and they took pictures and did the magazine stuff afterwards. So that piece was 8 weeks in Tanzania, 5 weeks in other parts of the world. Um, I did I did a complete research thesis and presented the findings, and those findings I was used to make a body of work on albinism and people with albinism and the killings. I had my first solo museum exhibition at the California African American Museum, and then I was invited to Canada to raise money to Vancouver for albinism with under the same sun, and then I was invited to the United Nations to present and testified using my art. Um, yeah, so that's kind of, and then the kids that I became very close with are now living here. It took us 3 years um, to get all the monies together and bring them over. And then when they came, they didn't want to go back because of the fear and the trauma and all the stuff.
mhm,
So Malena Roots, CCH, Jerry Beard, just a bunch of village. We have those children now. There's two girls here in Los Angeles, so young ladies per se, because it's been here a little bit and stuff. So that's kind of one of the most, I would say, I recognizable work that is still alive because when you see them, you see where they came from. You know,
mhm.
they're still living here and they're still with albinism. So that work is kind of, I think, is my largest work. You know, fast forward after that, I mean, I've done stuff in Mexico with the visibility of um, Mexicans who are with African heritage who has not been counted in the census until 2006,
Mm.
where I don't know, it's like over 5 million. It's probably one point something million had been counted. So not being counted in the census mean you have no resources, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people hadn't gone to school, and I was invited to Mexico City to do a residency, and of course, they weren't too happy that that's where my residency went, but I did not care because I like to go where I feel like I can make a difference or say something. Not because I'm a maker of things or a creator. I don't rely on that to make art. So that
Mm-hmm.
spoke to me. That happens in Mexico City. And then prior to that, I did a body of work, remember me tell you, that is ongoing, looking at climate change. Of course, when the US came out of the agreement and stuff, a lot of things shift, but now we're back. I'm hoping to continue that work on ecological, social, and political climate change. So there's always, I'm always looking at work that I can have a good research paper written about, and the findings making the actual art, and
Mm-hmm.
having the program to do the community engagement where I invite the community to participate in healthy dialogue and conversation um, moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And we have someone from the Facebook group saying they never knew that people born with albinism were being killed.
Oh yeah, well that happened in Tanzania. If they look up, they could look up my work, visibly invisible, and also if you look up Tanzania albinism, they've been butchered and murdered and discriminated against just for being born with albinism. Grave have been desecrated, looking for parts to make portions and stuff like that. So it was a serious case, and of course. Um, I now understand when somebody says, "Will you die for your art?" I went to Tanzania not speaking the language, not knowing where I was going, knowing only one person, not personally, through a connection, and had to go in as a student to the university because journalists were not welcome. International journalists were not welcome friendly because of the news that was getting out. So
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like getting into that country undercover and working discreetly to protect my own life, and also just making sure I get out.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And let me see, because we have a little bit of the work that you were actually just referenced. So this here is going to be, this is on your website, yrnehgabon.com. And we have Member Me Tell You.
So remember me, so that those two pieces, that's a portrait, a self-portrait to your right,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one is called Earth Mother. These two pieces are collected by CCH Founder. Um, yeah, and that's for my climate change piece. And this piece where you're looking at the coasters, the
Mm-hmm.
cork wood found in California, which is very indigenous to California. Um, and um, I wanted to bring attention to the cutting of trees and
Mm.
etching of the dragonfly inside of it. Yeah.
Okay. We have this piece here. Oh, that's a part of the series.
Yeah, so that's part of that exhibition right there. So you're looking at the full installation, and to your far left or
Mm-hmm.
closer to the screen is a wall of clothing from uh, over like 69 countries. I'm making a wall, and then I have this projection of dragonflies in quite a few languages saying, sometimes I feel like a motherless child. This country can be so kind and unkind, where it's telling people to go back where they come from, that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
even when they're making significant contributions. So that was that. Those are from the same series. The one on the right is leaves without trees, and it's young children migrating on boats across land in out of
Mm.
the dragonfly. When children are displaced or have to run, it says something when they have to be on the run too, because it's hard enough for an adult to run, but when a child has to run without any direction,
Mm-hmm.
so that work become out of out of that piece.
Mm-hmm. And I know you use dragonflies a lot in your work. What's the meaning for you behind the importance or significance of the dragonfly in your work?
So I mean, I started this dragonfly series when I was looking at water in graduate school in 2015, and I was looking at the drought and looking at where there was no water and looking at the relationship to animal that are affected both by the land and water. And I found the dragonfly. And then I started researching the dragonfly. I worked with a scientist. His name is Dr. Bybee out of Bingham University. And he had $1 million from the Science Center to study the dragonfly.
Mm.
And I got him to mentor me for, a few phone calls, meetings in a semester to understand the insect. And I think for me, it's one of the most amazing experience I've had because I figured that the dragonfly, most of his life is spent underwater.
Mm.
And it stays there up to 2 or 3 years before you see a dragonfly as a nymph. And and the cycle in which they come to life is usually a full moon. So I learned the cycle when the dragonfly, and I start studying, looking. I had a pond in the backyard, um, and I wanted to actually. I've seen dragonflies there, so I knew there would be eggs in there. So I set a camera down in there and I start, scouring it, and I found them, young ones in there. And
Mm.
kind of went with the flow and study when the moon is going to reveal and keep looking and checking. And then, you know, I I had an experience where one came out of the cocoon just for me, and that was amazing.
Mm.
I also learned that it's like, they've been around since the dinosaur age, 350 million years, 500, over 500 species. The only place they're not found is Antarctica. And recently they said they have found a dragonfly there, or a species of dragonfly. We're not sure yet. But I'm fascinated by the fact that most of his life is spent under the water, and in the water, it's a predator. It cleans the water. It eats anything that airborne parasites and stuff. And then when it comes on land and it leaves the water, it becomes food. So that for me is a total balance of the ecosystem where it gets in the water, does its thing, clean the water so we don't have all this bacteria piling up and doing stuff. Then when it comes out of the water, it becomes food for other animals. That is fascinating. So
Mhm.
using it as a motif in my work was not difficult. It was so easy because just to think about the dragonfly and how it flies, it's a winged animal.
Mm.
It's flying. And so I use that as a way to say I'm navigating my politics. So when
Mm.
you see it in my work, you know that that's kind of just what it is, right?
Mhm.
Um, the fact that it's everywhere,
Mhm.
um, it's in everything. I, you will see it for I don't know how long, but I enjoy having it in my work, and that is most things I've worked on, whether that be bronze, ceramics, metal, work on paper, work on canvas. You'll see the dragonfly. Uh,
Mhm.
it's fascinating to me, and to have the level of knowledge and understanding about the dragonfly.
Mhm.
So it becomes my motif in my work.
Yeah, it's amazing, and so interesting that they've been around that long.
Yeah, they
Mhm.
at one point the wings were 20 inches long before the oxygen and the carbon dioxide changes in the atmosphere,
Mhm.
and how they study fossils uh,
Mhm.
during the dinosaur age, and have found the wings to be 20, 25 inches long.
Mhm. Mhm. We have a couple of comments. We had one a little bit earlier from the group. There's so many of us who have no idea about what's going on in certain places in the world. It's so brave of you to put yourself and your life on the line to get these issues heard. Thank you for sharing.
I appreciate you so much.
Hmm. And we have Judy saying hello, hello.
Which Judy is that?
Judy Brown,
Hi,
she's
Judy
a
Brown.
videographer locally. Powerful, beautiful. And we have Shani, beautiful art, especially the ceramics.
Thank you.
And Judy saying interesting.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, you kind of got into a little bit earlier, but I wanted to know if you could go a little bit into like how does your fine art practice address inequality, inequities in underserved communities? Because I know you started getting into it, but if we could elaborate a little bit more.
Inequity is a big deal for me because I went to universities that I was accepted in because of my credibility, and they've honored me with all kind of discoveries, scholar and whatever it is. But yet still, other students see the reason to call the police on me.
Mm,
Because they don't see enough of me on that campus. Well, um, I feel like speaking about my experiences and telling and showing it in art and making, I could consider beautiful art that has these kind of stories laced into them, gives you time, or it's more encouraging to look at than, just making it heavy. But because it's heavy already, I
mm,
think the research, the investigative um, in- research is so important. Um, how I use my work to bring light and visibility is just make the work. I put myself into it. That's it's very clear.
mm,
Whether it's going to Tanzania or whether it's doing a live performance at the drive-by art in West Adams, where I did a whole performance on Ahmad Aubrey, who was murdered and butchered by those men who drove him down. What I mean, to really bring more visibility and more noise about it. I feel like my job is never to be silent in any of these issues, and that's kind of
mhm,
my way in supporting that kind of activism in my art.
mhm, mhm. One of the things that I really appreciate is all the different types of art that you do. Because I was looking at your bio, and it said how you've been in the arts and entertainment for 35 years, and you're a poet, an actor, a singer, producer, playwright, and using all of those mediums to empower people, to have social activism, to social commentary, and to bring awareness to so many different issues. I really appreciate that. I know that there's some artists that they have like, just one lane that they're in, but you're like, I'm using all the lanes, all of them to my disposal. So that's an amazing thing about you.
But you never know what is going to move people,
Hmm.
and if you have the if you feel like you have the know-how, or you want to, you should just do it. You
Hmm.
know, using all the areas. It's because I come from the theater and music,
Hmm.
and when you come from theater and music, you're doing everything.
Hmm.
You have to write the plays, you have to write the scripts, you have to block it, you have to this, you have to build the set, you have to make the costume, you have to do the performance, you have to know the line, you have to direct yourself, you have to direct others, right? So that discipline of coming from theater and music keeps you very grounded in that form, if you
Hmm.
get what I mean. And then the visual for me is the storytelling part of it.
Hmm.
So whether I am using um, things, objects to tell a story, this it's not just objects being put together. It's totally researched and abstract and written about.
Hmm.
Every ounce of that is a piece of work that if you probably just asked me, I would tell you all the things that I was thinking and tell you how I got to the end.
Hmm.
It's because growing up, I was never encouraged into the arts. I never had parents like that, right? And I never saw art really in my house, in my grandparents' house. Um, in my grandfather house, in my grandmother's house in the country, um, there was um, there was one thing. What you call it? It's there's one thing on the wall. This fruit thing with this cornucopia.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've seen so
and
many of them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then it was a lamp that says "Home Sweet Home" around it, and I would stare at that lamp and wonder where was that fucking home sweet home. But because not that I didn't feel at home at the time, but it always felt like something is missing, and I would just look at the light and just look at it, like And then if I need to see any more art, I would look in the Bible. My
Mhm.
grandmother was into the church. I would look in the Bible, but all the things I see that were pleasant were white angels and white Jesus, and then the devil was black. And in my mind, I always questioned that, but I never asked about it because nobody thought or say anything about it, right? So I never get too far with that. Then I kind of start drawing. My first drawing I made was a fish, and I made an eight and put a dot in one part of the eight at the eye. That was a fish, right? And I made an I with an A. Bam, bam. That's first thing that I can remember that I did. And I was so proud of myself. And I hid it someplace, and I don't know where it is. Then I went to my grandfather's house, and he had no art in his house,
Mm.
but he had some incredibly china pieces on the table. And then my step grandmother had a room, and her wall was papered from floor to ceiling, every inch of it with all kind of stories. She was a helper. So whenever she leaves, I'll lay up in her bed. I would look at all the magazines. I would look at all the magazines, and I feel good enough that I've had a good look at magazines on the wall in her bed, I would make the bed back, and she would know every time I lay in her bed. She would know that
Wow.
I was in her bed. Somebody was in her bed. It had to be me. But that's kind of um, what have me have think about the many ways I can tell stories and the many way you can be inspired. I mean, the outdoors and the countryside was a great deal of raw, natural nature inspiration for me. Sounds, night sounds, morning sounds, rain sounds, wind sounds, swaying of trees, and the evenings with flock of birds barring over the hill and just disappearing into clouds. I was that kind of child where I had imagination for everything. I thought the grass was the sea, and I jump and I start swimming in the grass. That's the kind of person I was. My imagination never stopped. So I had to find whatever ways to make the art that I want to make, and that kind of just allow me to develop the skill of making the things that I want to make and tell the stories in the form that I want to tell them.
Hmm. Hmm. We have Judy was asking, I guess from earlier when I was talking about the different art forms, are you thinking of writing a book and including the art?
I have one book that is out right now. It's called Visibly Invisible Through the Eyes of Yrneh Gabon, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is it's on Amazon. But yeah, there's so many stories that you don't see or don't hear. You see in the art because it has to be edited that I still enjoy thinking about, that I'd
Hmm.
love to share someday. I mean, I share a quick one. I was in McCormick Park. I wanted to see, as part of my trip to Tanzania, I wanted to see the big five, all the big animals. And I said, I'm going to treat myself to a tour. Okay. I don't know why I did this, but I hired me a young tour guide. He was out. They gave me a young tour guide who was out of college, in college, and spoke some English. And he was supposed to help me find this whole trip. I got up like at 5 o'clock in the morning to meet a driver who did not come. Then I got on wait at a bus station, waited for like 2 3 hours to get on the bus till the bus was full enough to drive to the park. While we were on the bus, um, I was taking pictures outside the mountain and pictures of people, and police came on the bus, and immediately I start saying, oh my God, the mountains are so great here. I just love the mountains because I think I knew it was me. So they start speaking to my tour guide in Swahili. And when they left, they said somebody on the bus told them there was a man with camera taking pictures on the bus, and they
Oh,
called police. And he told them I was a student, and that's all it was. We were going for a day trip, and that's how they didn't take me off that bus.
wow.
So, but I say this to say that that's a story I never told into the research stuff, right? I
Mhm.
talked to friends about it. And then on the way back that night, the bus break down in the park where all the big fives were. Hyena, lion, you name it, everything's up in there. Pitch black as midnight. Can't see nothing unless a vehicle drive by, you see people. So I made a final tape. If something happened to me, if a lion would attack us and drag somebody off, I don't know, could me or whatever, they would find my tape. And I listened to that tape all the time, and I would just laugh to myself. I'm like, I was serious when I was making that tape because I couldn't see anybody in the group.
Mm,
There were because the sky you see the stars, but below, pitch black, so
mm,
black you can't see your hand in front of your face. None of it, none of it.
mm.
Can't see. It was so black. But I recorded all the sounds and the conversation in the darkness, and I always thought that was such a great piece to really share one day. So, yes, I'm always thinking about writing a little bit more developed story, on some of the villages that I've been to, the experiences I've had, getting the material that I need to get to make the work.
Mhm.
So yes.
Someone from the group said a pure creative, and then someone said, "Oh gosh, yeah, that would I would be freaked out."
Let me tell you something. When I talk to that man, talk to that boy, he tells me, um, "Oh, the cultural will only take the women and children." I said, "This is not the Titanic." He said to me, "Titanic, what is that?"
Oh my gosh.
I had to change totally. Like, okay, you are not in America. You're not in the West. This he don't know what Titanic is. He's in Africa. He's a young student, and it's like I was like, okay, leave it alone.
That is hilarious.
Oh my God, that for me was I was shocked too, and I said Titanic. I realized I was, when you get to a place like this, and you and your culture is one. So even
Mhm.
though you go like, yeah, I'm going to behave myself, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. When shit hit the fan, your real person's going to come out. So my real person came out and was like, look, this is not the Titanic. I need to get on that couch track. He goes, no, 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 no. What is the Titanic? I couldn't say to him, hey, it's a ship, and they were making women and children. I just shut up and just observe. A few women and kids would go on the truck, and these are cow trucks. You're climbing the cow trucks with the cow
Mhm.
to get out of this McCormick Park. And then a lot of the men and the boys, they hang around and waiting for a vehicle to pick us up. Oh my God, that was the worst. I never want to go back another trip like that. I was done. I was like, okay, that's me with trying to see lions. I'm gonna go to Zanzibar, lay out on beaches and see villages and stuff. Yep. But it was a wonderful experience in that I had such a wonderful and rich time in Africa. I see all sorts of people, all sides of people. I had one guy, he was a baker, big burly guy, huge, big muscle, everything. He was a baker, but he was the most gentle soul, right? So I saw him baking, and I would start singing about Marley. He said, ah, Bob Marley. I said, that's the only thing he knows. And I try to speak more. He says, no, but he knows Bob Marley. And every evening in Zanzibar, I would go to that place and sing about
Mhm.
for about 4 or 5 evenings. And he gives me a cup of tea and a loaf of bread this side. And I cherish that. Like, to I take pictures of him. I cherish because he's always like, he just waited to be serenade and give me that bread and a cup of tea, and I would have had so much fun. Nothing else was was exchanged more than just pure appreciation for humanity and people.
Mm,
I wish I took his name and his address and stuff. And when you travel like this, sometimes
yeah.
your journeys, you remember what you remember, and it's just a wonderful experience. But if I go back, I must go find him because I was so happy. Every evening, I would take myself, even after a fabulous dinner in a restaurant, I'd go sing for my loaf of bread and my tea. It was so much fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's an awesome experience.
yeah.
Yeah. What, in your opinion, what are some of the challenges and opportunities for artists of Africa and the diaspora?
There's a whole heap of them because first, you know, we're so marginalized in so many ways. It's always have to be one. You have 50 million white artists, and there are other artists, and they're showing their work, and they're exhibited and represented and
Hmm.
stuff. And it always have to be that one. Um, I think that we're not there yet, but I think over since George Floyd and the COVID, I think the attention has been switched to under the Black Life Movement last year. People start those who are looking at art for those message, right? Um, um, and folks who have never hanging black art in their house are now hanging it inside their house,
Mm,
right? Um, the miseducation of who we are and what our story is has always been a thing where it's been used to castrate us as artists. And then they tell you, go to graduate school, go to school. And then you get to graduate school, you get to undergrad or whatever, you get to school. And then when you come out, they don't want you to be a teacher in the school because you're too radicalized, you've seen too much. And that bothers me. They'll pick a one or two person who they think, okay, either they're a star in their field, or they think they have a white appeal and stuff. What I mean? But outside of that, there is still a lot of fear
hmm.
as to um, who we are as artists of color in Africa and diaspora. Um, I think that what we're doing right now, we're just telling our stories, and we are Instagram and Facebook and social media has literally take it out of the water, to say the least, where people have access to see the work and they're realizing that we've been telling stories all along.
Hmm.
Is that you have not been listening.
Hmm.
um, that's kind of just where that is, you know. I think that we as artists of color need to collaborate more. We don't have to collaborate by making work. Have conversation, do studio visit, not be competitive. There's no reason for it. You
Hmm.
know, I know we all have to eat and everybody's trying to you know, go, go for the plate and all that kind of stuff. I understand that, but I still don't understand it because there's always enough to share, and we all not making the same work. Um, Even if we are, we're telling it from different perspective, and it should be okay as well.
Hmm.
So um, I think in the education sector, um, college need to hire more artists of color to teach, bringing them, bringing those history book and like Marxist and those old, I mean, art, the garden, those we know that, but
Hmm.
have those readings and stuff that are written by mainly white men and,
Hmm.
and stuff, still teaching in graduate school those readings and stuff. The people are giving those readings to you are white people,
Hmm.
and stuff like that. So I am about re-educating and shifting that narrative of how art is being used, and also what is education in art.
Hmm.
Be more than um, those you know gargantuous words that they use, and just the idea of of just to be intellectual or to be inclusive. I don't see that. Look, I went back to school at 42, and I've done the undergrad, I've done the graduate, public practice and visual arts. And I know artists that have not gone to graduate school are incredible. Their narratives are great. Um, they might not understand how to give language to some of the things that we have created, then determining that that's language, which is
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily so.
Mm-hmm.
And they're making great work with good content, and they have something to say. To have them excluded is kind of a disservice, knowing that the resources were never there,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going, it's getting in debt, and coming out not even able to find a goddamn associate adjunct position because of now your eyes are open and you can see, and you have much more to bring to the table. You know what I mean? So here's a lot of work to be done. I'm just hoping that in my lifetime I can make a difference. That's all I can say to that.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have one of the comments from the group: fear and wanting to control the narrative, fear of the truth. Wow, yeah. There was an artist I spoke to a long time ago, and he's literally, I can't remember which country in Africa he was from, but he was in a university, and the teacher happened to be white and was like trying to talk about this particular country. And he actually had to try to like defend what he knows as a native from the country versus someone who's never even been there. She's just going by whatever she's
Hmm.
picked up.
And because they're standing there and they're given that position, they become gods, and they use that.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it. They use that. I'm the first to rebel. I mean, I can't sit and be comforted by that stuff. It doesn't make sense to me. None of it is nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't care what teacher you are. You could be the dean. I'm going to challenge you because it's nonsense
Mm-hmm.
stuff. I had a very rough time in graduate school. Um, a very interesting time in undergrad. I have a very interesting time in school, period, going back, because there was so much needed to be fixed. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? That I was like, wait a minute, wait a minute. It was a lot of those moments.
Mm-hmm.
So, institution for me, hmm, I have my doubts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You recently had a birthday, so I'm going to say happy birthday again.
Thank
And
you.
you produced a 3-day multi-layer series called Legally Triple 21. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and why was it important for you to share your birthday in that way?
It was very interesting because I also found my birth paper with my mother's birth y- day, my mother's date of birth on it, and she was 21 when she had me.
Mm. Oh.
Yeah, that was on the 21st of January. She was 21 when she had me, right? Um, so I've been in LA 21 years, and my birthday is January 21st, and it was 2021. So I was celebrating both my birthday, I was celebrating an anniversary, and I'm celebrating a new year and stuff, and lots of things that I want to do in this year, regardless of what it gives me. I mean, I'm going to see as much as I can do get done. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and for many years, I've been using my birthday to as a way of giving back, raising money for different charitable organization and stuff. Um, this year, I just wanted to use the internet, and we did actually raise some money for African Millennium Foundation. Um, there are people who bought my ceramic mugs and stuff, the dragonfly ones, the recent edition that I did
Hmm.
for the charity and stuff, because I found out that I can. Last year I didn't make enough money for my support for my charities, and I wanted to also use that to, you know, bring a bit to I can give to them and share with them. So that was pretty much it.
Hmm. Yeah. And I love that you were like going on two different platforms. Well, three, because you had the Zoom webinars to Facebook, and you brought, talked to all the variety of people from CC. You had art critics, you had artists, you had people with, arts education, just a wealth of information. And then going on Instagram, talking to the different artists, and and people that, that I caught some of them, and I was like, oh, let me follow them on Instagram. So there's a lot of them that I ended up connecting with and just getting fed by. And I think that's just, it just kind of speaks to your nature of always giving and using your platform to help something, someone else, another organization, and bring awareness. So I think that was an amazing
That's
feat.
all we can do. That's
Hmm.
all we can do. We do know it does us no good to do this.
Hmm.
A clenched fist.
Hmm.
That's better to me.
Hmm.
Release. You know. Yeah.
Yeah. We have a couple of people on the group saying happy birthday.
Thank you.
And we also had someone from when you were talking about the school. Wow, exactly. I've had confrontations with teachers for the same reason, history teachers. Yeah.
Yeah, they need to start hire some people who know what we're about, and stop bringing them books written by those dead white people for centuries to the classroom and tell us that that's what history is, when we are constantly evolving. This is bullshit. You
Hmm.
know, I'm not having any of it and stuff.
Hmm.
I've had to deal with it in grad school. I had to deal with it undergrad, and the people that are bringing these regurgitated um, history, they don't. How do they fit into the evolving world today? They don't and stuff. The formula and the curriculum need to be burnt
Hmm.
and and resurrected into something that fits the current climate. It is a nonsense, totally nonsense. I don't see it, but hey, that's why they're not letting me into this institute.
Yeah. Well, we make our own lanes. So,
I have my own platform,
yeah.
say my say,
Hmm.
because
Absolutely.
I you know I mean I know it. It is very clear. You can see it,
Hmm.
you know. So yeah.
Do you have any self-care practices?
Well, my self-care practices pretty much there has been locked down since COVID.
Mm.
I usually get my flexology done, my massages, my all the pampering stuff.
Mm.
I'm the kind of pampering dude. Yeah, what I mean? It's like, no, I like all them things. Um, so I just reach out to my friend who she's a masseuse, to do an appointment Thursday. I had my COVID negative, and I said, I can't. It's been a while. I need some hands on me, please.
Hmm.
Um, I do like to take off when I can, and I don't make work when I take off. I just soak it all up. I sleep, I eat, I,
Mm.
I just very fluid and flexible in what I collect in terms of photographs or document, and I observe. What I mean, but not anything heavy. You know,
Mm.
long evenings, long evenings, short evenings, long days, short days. I mean, anywhere it I feel it, I just crash. And that's what I like. I haven't done that in a while. I haven't had a vacation in a while because uh, 2019 I was preparing for 2020 Biennale in Dakar, so I've been working on that. And then 20 also in 2019 I was traveling and doing presentation. I did a lecture in Jamaica and raised money for scholarships for education, for the School of Drama. um, so um, I haven't had a break. I'm kind of just needing that right now.
Hmm. Hmm. Absolutely. We have someone from the Facebook group saying, you have to have your own lane so you can be free to say what you need to say. Absolutely. We were talking about, like, being your own lane versus like fitting into.
No,
Um,
I don't fit into any of that stuff.
hmm.
None of it, because you're not going to tell me how to entertain or to behave myself. You must be mad.
Mm-hmm.
I follow you ask about the significance of the birthday as well. So I have been going to Africa a lot. I've made several trips to East and West. And I decided I want to know where I'm from. So I did African DNA
Mm.
and found out I'm from the Balanta tribe. And the word Balanta mean resist,
Mm.
or those who remain.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it means. And that's what the Mandinka call these people, because they could not be easily captured. And when you capture them, you have to really capture them good because they are stubborn people. That's my tribe, the Balanta. So you mess with me, you're going to deal with the Balanta.
Fitting. You said, I. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah. I was super happy about that,
Mm-hmm.
because everything those people are, all of it is me.
Mm-hmm.
All those protests. I've been protesting and standing up for injustice since I was 19 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a long time,
Mm-hmm.
probably earlier. But I say this to say that it hasn't changed, and I
Yeah.
don't see it changing anytime. You know, I just don't want to leave this planet a bitter person. I want
Mm-hmm.
to leave a better person, not a bitter person.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can get some things, yeah, that would be great. You know,
If you had access to a time machine, where would you go and why? The past or the future?
the future.
Mm.
I've lived the past, girl, and it's beautiful. Every bit of it, good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the future. I want to live a full life in Africa. I
Mm.
want to take off and go to places like Botswana, spend some time in Botswana, um, spend some time in different parts of Senegal and Ghana, and just Gambia and Mali. Just see, I get goosebumps telling you this. It better be a wish that come true very soon. There's nothing. I'm the happiest when I'm on the continent. There's something that is electrifying to me,
Mm.
that not only inspire me, but it humbles and centers me in such a deep way that I cannot express it in words. That's what I feel when I'm in Africa. Everything about it. Even when I go to villages with barely nothing of the modern world, I feel so at home.
Mm-hmm.
I feel so at home and so humbled. You know what I mean? I remember one time I was in a village in Senegal, outside of Dakar, and we were on the beach. I was with a Dr. Sek, the Senegalese uh, doctor, not medical, historical doctor. And he took me to, I think it's Jula, and I saw these young girls catching fish, and they broke a bottle, like parts of the bottle they broke, and they put something in the bottle, you know, and put it in the water, and the fish would come into the bottle,
Mm.
and the little fish, and they'll be scaling them little thing, no more little like my finger, like right here, lots of it, and I was like, how industrious! They're catching the dinner.
Mm.
It was just wonderful and stuff. It makes you think. It makes you think about life in so many ways.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, so yes,
Yeah, someone's saying agreed. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh man, take me to the future. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, Yrneh, it was, such a pleasure to have you here. I know that you're busy and I hope you have some vacation time soon. So,
I will
um,
try. I'll try and do some local R&R, something, get away from myself. I don't know how possible that is, but I will try.
yes, 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 absolutely. Do you have any other final words, closing thoughts?
You're doing a wonderful job over there, Miss Niki Lopez.
Thank you, thank
Over
you.
there, having this conversation and stuff.
Mm.
No, just to know that artists are usually the last through the door, but the first thing you see when you open the door is the creativity. You're going to,
Mm.
if the place doesn't look right or doesn't feel right, the person to check with is the decorate. Who's the decorator? The
Hmm.
art and stuff. So whatever way you support, like supporting your project, what you do,
Yes.
whatever way you can support, bring it to the circle and
Hmm.
support, because showing up and getting people from different arenas in different parts of the world to speak and to engage, it takes a little bit of preparing, right?
Yeah.
So I would say, you know, my my radio station NPR always sends me their regular envelope, and when they don't see the payment, they sends me a pink one. And it sends me a pink one. Right? Hey, we're still waiting for that check.
Mm.
Where is it? So don't let Nikki ever send you a pink envelope.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, we have a couple of people. So we have Will said, just checking in, but great interview. Checked in late, but great interview. Thank you. Thank you. And this is live right now, but you could always go back, and watch the replay. It's on YouTube, it's on Facebook under Niki Lopez Creative, and by the end of the week, it'll be on all the podcasts. So you could definitely go back and watch them. Thank you for being here. And then we have, oh, I think that was Valerie. This is such a wonderful exchange of positive energy. Much love. Absolutely.
Thank you,
And Grecia, outstanding, outstanding.
thank you, thank you.
Yes. So, thank you. Thanks again for being here. Um, Thank you for all the people that's here watching this live. And for those who's going to watch it on the replay, thank you for watching it. Please consider sharing this. Yrneh said, don't hold it in, give, send it somewhere. There's someone in your network that might be interested in doing some of the things um, that, we talked about. And I did already put Yrneh's links. So definitely go and check him out and see, more of his work, support him, buy the ceramics. They are definitely going to a great cause, or a piece of art, a piece of
Oh, that
fine
was
art.
nice.
Yes, it's all art, but definitely go check him out. If you enjoyed this program is brought to you by Niki Lopez Creative and What's Your Elephant. So, What's Your Elephant is a movement that uses the arts to create safe spaces to address everything unspoken. So, if you like this work, you want to look up more of the things that I'm doing, you could go to what'syourelephant.org or Linktree. So definitely, and we have here, and make sure that we end it on Yrneh. So you can definitely look up yrnehgabon.com, and you could find more of his work and links to it.
On Instagram,
Oh, yes, yes. Oh,
yeah, the Instagram page has got lots of the more current stuff than the the um, the web.
so we have a couple of we have the Instagram going on the ticker, and also in the comments under Facebook and the YouTube page, we have all of your links there. So definitely
Thank you.
go and check it out. So that's it for tonight, Yrneh. Hopefully you get some. Even though you're the West Coast, we're on the East Coast, so. But I thank you for being here, and thank everyone for being here. And I will see you all a little bit later next week.
Peace
Take
out. Thank
care.
you, your audience, Nikki. Bye bye.